Where we once stood, and one last goodbye. These are the songs that play before I'm gonna do this. That's what I'm just like. I couldn't make it up if I tried. Now I'm in front of right here. I'm leaning this up against my window. So I'm going to move this over here where it's safe because it's it's been windy off and on today. It's been like windy, then not windy, then can we see can you see it? Oh wait. You can kind of see it. Did you see the glint of it? There it is. There it is. Thank you, Spirit. Hi, you guys. So, one last goodbye. I have one more reading. And this last week has been the hardest week I've really had. I don't, in a different way, you know, like I can't compare because each time it feels awful and turbulent, you know, because it's what I'm going through at the time. So, you know, it's, you can't compare it, right? Because it's where we're at that level of consciousness or where we're at in that part of the design for ourselves. And the glint from there is so awesome. Also, I felt like Spirit wanted this, like for you to see this as like a portal. That's the Goddess Mother up there. You know, obviously, yeah, we're still in the RV, but yeah, I'm having a really hard time letting the magical medium go. Like I didn't realize like how much I was depending on it and focused on it and how much I loved it. And you know, I didn't realize how far it had gone, by the way. This is me like not caring. So I was like, what's a, oh cool. In the bathroom, that's all I could find was a hair clip and a hair tie. I'm like, whatever. I'm putting oil on my hair anyway. Um, but yeah, I just like had like this major meltdown that turned into a breakthrough, a really powerful breakthrough. And I needed it. I needed it. I had to go there. I had to sit with it. I had to dance with it. I had to get ugly. I had to say horrible things about myself, other people. Like I had to just let it go because it was consuming me. I was starting to get consumed with this ending and why in my whole life, you know, and then I started to realize these voices that were going off in my head, this programming from, you know, my elders, my teachers, you know, family, friends, whatever, partners, bosses, you know, that tell you who you are. And so you get that ingrained in your brain. And, you know, I have moved nearly 30 times and lived in 5 states, and I've had more jobs than I would have to like really sit down. Over 20. And I know for some people like, oh, it's no big deal, but for some people like 20 jobs, I'm like, I'm 51, but still do the math. I mean, I started working well, technically when I was a paper girl, you know, when I was like 11 or something, but my first real job was at a VFW at the banquet hall. I was the coat check girl at 13. It was illegal. It was early 80s. It was illegal, but nobody said shit back then. It was like, oh, somebody's kid. Yeah, sure. She'll collect coats for. I made a really good money actually for a 13-year-old. Some nights I'd make like $100. Do the math. Back in the early 80s, 13-year-old, that's a lot of money. Anyway, I digress. So I'm going through all these different jobs and all these different failures because there was a time where I just could not handle hearing no all the time from these auditions that I went on. I feel like the candle wants us to go to it. Perfect. There it is. And the rejection just became too much to bear. I didn't realize at the time that it was ego, but also it was just like this programming of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm, you know, I mean, I would hear so many casting people, directors, producers, they would say the same thing, which when I would say this to my family, they're like, well, then maybe you should lose more weight or maybe you should, you know, and I'm like, I don't want to lose more weight. I'm like, I don't want to change everything about myself to fucking fit a role that makes other people feel good about themselves. I'm like, I don't fucking get it, you know? So over time, I each decade, I revisited that world. And so I knew something major had happened today when I said to my husband, I'm just so sad right now. I wish I could explain it. I'm like, it feels like that time where I was this close to getting a national commercial. I was. And it was the commercial that was going to change my life. At first I didn't tell anybody about it because I didn't want to jinx it, so to speak, you know? And to this day, who knows? Like maybe it was because of the energy, you know? But I had my friends, my art friends, and like my friends that like, you know, only knew me in my adult life that were like, you got this. This is awesome, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I had my family and they're like, don't fuck it up, you know, like don't fuck it up. Like just, you know, blah, blah, blah. If they say be yourself, be yourself. And then it was like, you know, but don't be yourself, you know, just, you know, and I was like, but how I got as far as I did was being myself. And how I fucking fucked it up and lost it was when I was trying to be somebody else. There is a butterfly. I don't know if I can get this on, but this butterfly just flew in right there. Can you see it? Oh, oh, it just flew away. I don't know if you saw that. Oh my gosh. And so today I was like, oh my gosh. I like this total breakthrough where I was like, and I remember it too. I remember like I felt like I let everybody down because like the casting people and like whatever, it had gotten to the point where it was my fourth audition. It was the last audition because it was when Dove was redoing their entire campaign of Real Women. I was 32. I'm 51. I'm going to be 52 this year, so do the math. It was when they were putting out this new thing of real women using real products kind of thing, right? And they were looking for a category for each real woman, different sizes, ethnicities, ages. And I was perfect for it. They told me at the time, they're like, you're perfect. You're perfect for this part. You're perfect for this, you know, this kind of imagery that we have or whatever. And I remember like at that point, I was trying to win my ex-husband back. We'd been separated and he ended up being with someone else. And he told me that he was in love with this person. And I was like, no, we can work through this. We've been through so much together, blah, blah, blah. You know, we've been together almost a decade. And he was like, no, you're not hearing me. Like, I love you, but like, I'm in love with her. Like, I want to be with her. I want to spend my life with her. And I was like, okay, you know, but and I've got people in my ear, you know, you can fight for this, you know, you guys have something special. And even I was like, dude, we're done. Like, I knew we were done. He knew we were done, but everybody else. And it was almost like I just kept letting everybody rule my life. And I didn't even realize how much over the years to make other people happy, or I didn't know how to be happy. So I'm like, well, they seem to know what makes me happy. So I'll let them lead the way. And it's not their fault. Like, I love them. Thank you all for doing that for me, you know? But at the same time, I realized it was hindering me too. This like obsession of trying to fit in, be loved, be accepted. It wasn't working for me. And in the last 48 hours, I've had 2 comments go on my channels that actually both were, I think, around the magical medium. Yes, both were on the magical medium. That were really fucked up and like I was like, what is happening? Like, what is happening? And I really let it bother me. I really let it bother me. And I know I only let it bother me because I am going through such a metamorphosis. Thank you, butterfly. And it's like the darkness in me that just wanted to lash out and be like, you know, say this or that. But that's not how I really feel, and that's not who I am. But there's still this end of the toothpaste thing, like that's like trying to, it's like my body wants to be done with it. My body wants to be rid of this compulsion to please, this compulsion to be accepted, this compulsion to fit in. And it's learned behavior. I actually, you guys, I've done so many Tallulah talks. I did a Sunday service. Like, I don't know if I'll ever post them or if they'll have me post them at some point, but you know, a lot of times it's just to help me. It's like my therapy. It helps me like have these breakthrough moments. And in the Waning Gibeus reading, we pulled some cards from the Dark Mirror deck, and I was pulled to hold them to not read from the book but I knew at some point I was going to do something with them. So I want to read some stuff with you, and then we're going to kind of get back to like what I'm talking about. But I just want to say thank you so much for those of you who have stood by me and the magical medium. It's been so powerful. We've been standing by each other, supporting each other. I mean, leading the way for each other, giving each other space to grow and change and evolve. You know, this is no like shiny button contest, like, you know what I mean? It's like it's our own personal thing to walk, our own personal challenge. I had this moment today where I was in the I can't anymore, I can't, I won't, and these negative things, and and then I go outside and then I sit with spirit for a little while, and I realize I'm like, it's not really me, it's just this old part of me that's like wants to stay in the comfortable, because even though I'm uncomfortable here, sometimes it feels more comfortable in the uncomfortable that's known. But what's the difference? If you're going to live in an uncomfortable energy, wouldn't it be better to live in an uncomfortable energy that at least you're navigating? And that's what I was feeling. It's like I miss so many people in my life, and I feel them calling out to me. They come into my dreams. They don't even realize it because they're so powerful. And with great strength comes great responsibility. And I've been going through all these where I'm like, I just suck. I'm not good enough. Like today I was crying. I'm like, I fucking, if I was meant to be a real medium, I would, have, and I was like, ego, ego, but also control. And I'm like, who will I be when the channel's over? Like these things that are coming out where I'm like, what do you mean, who will I be? I'll still be me. And the fact that they asked me to pull cards in, those of you who've been walking with me for a long time, before I started doing readings like that, I was doing readings like this. Talking to you guys, showing you cards, talking through the cards, through the emotions, through the energy. The fact that I got this song that says one last goodbye, because that's, Alder was like, getting back to that, Alder was like, it's fine, it's probably just, you'll probably get back to it like when the weather is, I'm like, I don't think you get it. I'm like, no, dude, I think I'm done. I said, no matter what's going to happen, and I don't know if I'm right or I'm wrong, but I'm like, whatever this is that I've been doing on the magical medium that started as Lula's Labyrinth and, spun off to Lula's Life. It's like, I feel like Lula's Life is like the spin-off of Lula's Labyrinth, but so was the magical medium. All I did was change the title, but it was the same place, the same, it's like the spin-off was something, because I was like, it didn't start in the New Earth. Maybe, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe they'll have me start. I don't know. But whatever that is, I believe it's done. It's dead. Like, I believe personally, like right now in this moment, at this level of my consciousness, in this moment with you, I believe it's dead. And I think that's why I'm crying so hard and why I'm so sad, is because I'm like, it's felt like my security blanket. And that's what I said to him. I go, it's been my security blanket. And the fact that, like, I've had so many disappointments. I've lived 5 decades. I've had many disappointments in my life. Trust me. But the fact that the one that I pulled out was the national commercial, I went to a very dark place after that. And the crazy part is when I was auditioning, and it was so many people, and it was just like, and it was being videotaped, and I was on like a live feed for the president to fucking see it in his office, like of whatever company, Dove, like whatever their master company is. Master company. Who Master of Puppets started playing in my head by Metallica. Fuck. Okay, Spirit's like, you didn't get it because it wasn't your path. That wouldn't have been good for you. Oh, see what I mean? But that's I was upset, and I felt like I let everybody down, because at first I didn't tell anybody about the commercial. I was like, I just wanted to go and see how I did. When I got a call back, I was like, holy shit, I got a fucking call back. And it happened so quick because my husband and we met in Los Angeles, lived in Los Angeles for many moons, and then we moved back to Chicago, where I was from, and then we broke up. We didn't even make it a year, and maybe a little over a year, and we broke up, and then we separated. For like 6 months, I went back to LA and stayed with my best friend and all of my really close friends there to like heal through that, and they were the ones too that were like kind of, I don't remember if they were pushing me to go back or not. I don't remember, but either way, I got on this bandwagon that I was going to win him back. So I got back, and he was like, wow, you look amazing. Like, I got in really good shape, and I like looked different. I had my hair in like a bob, kind of like this, like bleached blonde. I wasn't really me. That's why I didn't get it, because this is really me. but I wanted to be like this perfect, he would say things like, how pretty my sister was. And his wife now looks so much like a different version of me and like my sister. And it has nothing to do with like, oh, she's me. It's like, that's like obviously a type or like an aesthetic that they're looking for or whatever. I mean, it could just be dumb luck that he is attracted to the same, but whatever. So anyway, interesting. I'm getting all these downloads right now, right in front of you. 15, 20, and then 21. Interesting. Uh-huh. Because I wasn't meant to. And if I got that national commercial, then I would have been showing people a version of who I thought everybody wanted me to be. Because I moved back to Chicago for a while, and then I met what I felt like was the true love of my life up until that point. And then, like, we were together in Chicago for a while. Then I moved back to his hometown in Kansas, in Wichita. It was like, I feel like I keep trying to be like this different version of myself. And then when that didn't work out, I moved back home. I felt like a failure. I was like super suicidal. I didn't know what to do with myself. I ended up going back to college, which I loved, for fashion design. Met all these new people, these witches and healers and deep down believers and stuff like I was. And it was just interesting. Like everything, and many of them who turned me onto it. Thank you. You know who you are if you watch this. And just awakening ourselves to a deeper, deeper place. And I feel like, that needed to come out today. Even in front of you, I'm having an aha moment. Drink some water. Because, yeah, I had my perfect nails and I was like, in shape and I looked good and I loved LA. I loved, and the interesting thing was every time I was like on a path on my own, I was doing really well and I'd feel really good. And that's when I'd be like, I'm going to get them back. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to win them back. And this is the best version of me right now. And it usually was, but it actually brought me to the best version of myself in a different way. And that's all life is bringing us to the best version of ourselves in that moment, in that time. And we're meant to change, we're meant to evolve, and we're meant to grow. And I had a hard time even getting ready today because I don't even know like who I am or how I feel, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've been trying to like love on this side more because this has always been my good side. But what is a good side? I did a shorts about that. I don't know if they'll ever have me post it, but it's true. It's like, what is the good side? Damn it. I just cleaned these. They're a little dollar store. I need to get new ones. They're really bad. I think I paid $1 for them when it was still $1.20. Still a dollar store like many, many moons ago. So, death. I literally had such a meltdown today that I asked my husband if we were dead. It was that much where I'm like, are we dead? Are we dead? I was dead fucking serious. Now, most people would probably be like, ooh, and that's okay. I don't fucking care. But for a split second, I felt like I went outside. I'm like, babe, I think we're dead. I'm like, think about it. I'm like, all these things, I get so close to it. I mean, I've been so close to so much greatness. You guys wouldn't even understand. The butterfly's back. Oh, did you see her? And I've changed and evolved and grown. I growed so many times and changed so many times. It's my southern family, growed. And I will keep changing and evolving, and you will keep changing and evolving. And I found this rock on the beach. And I love rocks like this. But by the way, I want to do the black and white because we're in the waning crescent. So I feel like I'm meant to bring like the magical medium back here. So I don't know what's going to happen with everything. So we'll just see what happens. I even was like, are we going back to Lula's labyrinth? I'm like, what's happening? It might just say Lula's life. I don't know. But see how this rock, it wasn't always like this. Ooh, the wind's really coming through. This rock wasn't always like this, right? Let me see if I can zoom in. Maybe it doesn't want to be looked at. Right? The rock came together like this over time. It was pieced together with sand. You know what I mean? I don't know the whole thing of how a rock is made, but obviously those are layers in there that over time it grew into this. And that's all we are. And we're here on this journey to, evolve and grow. Interesting. They had me pull this one first. Alone in the world. Let's see if they bring the cards up. That would be cool. Oh, can you guys see that? I hope you can. Alone in the World, number 6, 1959. Also, then it went to 2001. So if that means anything to you guys, I feel like 2019, both of those felt like a year. You know what I'm saying? Like a 1959 and then 2001. So I feel like they actually want you to look at this card a little bit more. So what does this mean to you, 1959 or 2001? You know, when I look at this card, I see like Italy in 1959, a beautiful goddess sunning herself outside, or she was sunning herself outside and enjoying it. She derobed. She felt so comfortable in her own skin, in her own home, in her own yard, that she just derobed completely. She looks beautiful. She looks happy. She looks at peace. But it says alone in the world. I don't feel like this is someone who's like, I'm all alone in the world, you know, 2057 and then 2058. If you're new here, when I call that out, they're just angel numbers. If it calls out to you, look it up. Or it could just be numerology that you're meant to add it together. It could be your life path number, like comes down to like number 7, you know. Anyway, so to me, I feel this card feels very peaceful to me. It's also number 6. And I want you to research, I could tell you, I can go and get all my books right now, but I want you to research the number 6 in numerology, because it's after 5. It's after the hardship of 5. I'll give you a nice little hint there. So I'm going to read this book because it's so good. I love this book so much. Now listen, this was written not in English and it was translated. So sometimes, give me a minute, I have to kind of retranslate it for you in the moment. So it says, alone in the world, the moon phase is 3rd quarter. Now we are in the waning crescent, the 3rd quarter in real time in Moon Day Magic. It's a Monday. It's Monday the 12th. Tomorrow is the 13th. Another thing for you to research is Vesta, the 13th, and Litha, Litha, and summer solstice. Okay, these are beautiful events that are happening. The next week is like a celebration of the goddess. It is a celebration of the goddess, of the divine feminine within. You know, and obviously it's in the northern hemisphere, because in the southern hemisphere they're going into winter solstice, right? So whatever, it's, you know, it's still with the divine and the goddess, but whatever you're feeling, you know what I mean, whatever energy works for you. But I'm going to read on. Okay, so 3rd quarter moon phase. In this book, it's about the 7 stages of death, but they only use 5 stages in here, which is interesting. So this stage is acceptance, the visual seed. This is, oh, I read to you guys this in the waning gibbous reading. Now we're in the waning crescent reading. So if you didn't watch the waning gibbous, I highly recommend you go back and watch it. That's also when I had the chakra that I found out that day, that was when the magical medium was ending. And Spirit just like threw the gauntlet down, like, hey, you know, whatever. And trust me when I tell you, like, I absolutely am excited for the new, but I'm also mourning the death of something that was very beautiful and poignant and important in my life, and important for all of you too. Going back, you'll see the magical medium's going to evolve. Like my last reading will be that reading, but then there'll still be things that will be going on until they tell me to stop. And then, you know, I may throw things in here and there. I have no idea. For now, I'm just getting the vibe that it's going to continue, at least for now and for a while, because I don't believe they would have me create playlists and do all the stuff that they were like, oh, you're going to delete it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't believe they would have me do that work, but they might, because I did have a lot of aha moments going back and looking at it and seeing some of the things that, like, I really enjoyed, some of the things I didn't enjoy. So very interesting. So who knows? But in the waning gibbous reading, we pulled these cards, but we just didn't go into the book. But in the book, this one, we did read this mantra. In solitude I stand. In solitude I may shine. Excuse me. My body wants to burp and let go of, right? Like, I want to release that. Release that. Release it. Solitude isn't a bad thing. Solitude is a wonderful thing. Solitude is where you find yourself. And I can tell you from personal experience many, many times that I have been alone for long periods of time. It's when I really found myself, when I really understood who I was. I told my husband this today. I'm like, I feel like I need a vacation or a break or something. I'm like, I don't know where we're going or what's happening, but I'm like, I feel like I need that. So I don't know how that's going to go down or whatever, but I started to realize like, yeah, like there's too much energy that's been going on again, like where I live, like they're still doing construction on the property. And now they've been like, because it's been so long, it's been like balls to the wall, like every single day. And I love that they're doing this and improving it, and it's wonderful, and I'm so excited for them. But at the same time, it's just like this energy because I can feel it. The generator's going. It's just different. And when we're not on the property, I feel really calm. However, now it's summertime, and all of these sacred spaces that we're going to are filling up with people, and I'm like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? I'm like, I need a place of solitude. I'm like, Spirit, please. I'm like, I need a place of solitude. So I know that they're bringing us, and because Alder and I have an awesome way of being in the same place, but having solitude, like we have that great blessing in our relationship to have that. However, there's still times where I'm like, I need a break, and I told him, his cousin lives in this really cool area where there's a river, and they've been talking about building this camping spot, and I'm like, focus on that camping spot so that you can leave for 2 or 3 days at a time. Because we need that. It's natural, it's normal. We are not meant to be connected at the hip. I remember one time, I'm not going to say who because I don't want to whatever, but I just remember one time there was this couple, and I said something like, have you guys ever been apart? And they're like, I think the longest we've been apart was 2 days. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm like, you need like a few weeks to and they're like, why would we want to be away from each other? I'm like, you've been together for years and years and years since you were very young people. Maybe it would be nice to like go somewhere else, get a different perspective, a different point of view. That's it. Because staying the same all the time with the same people and the same thing and the same traditions and the same 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 and the same, it gets boring. And I feel like that's what they're doing is they're like, why are you upset? Like, it's almost like I feel like one side of Spirit's like, leave her alone. Like, she's mourning. Like, let her go through her shit. And there's another side that's like, dude, she loves this shit. She loves change. Why isn't she jumping from the rooftops? And like, because she feels like a failure. Because she feels like this is yet another thing she hasn't finished. Because to her and her mind, she thinks in her third dimensional, human mind, she thinks she needs to have X amount of followers to make her a success. I do not. And that was something that really shook me to my core. It's because the numbers have been growing, and then I'm like, so am I never going to look at it again? Am I going to, people started to comment. I'm like, do I comment? Do I respond? Do I not respond? Do I care? Am I supposed to care? And it's like, they're like, this is why you're stopping. Because I love you all so much, and I love doing what I do. I love readings. I love helping people. I love laying the foundation and the breadcrumbs, for people to find their magic themselves, heal themselves. I'm not a fucking healer. Recently someone had commented on one of my readings, and they professed that they were a demon slayer, and I was like, good for them, man. If that's what they believe, good for them. But then I thought to myself, it's interesting because I don't look at it like that. I used to look at things like that, but I'm like, no one can slay our own demons but us. And even if something's coming for you, like these exorcist movies or whatever, they want you to be fucking scared to think that you cannot fucking fight it yourself. You can. You don't need a fucking priest to come in. You don't need me to come in. Like, yeah, I'll come in and bless your house and I'll, whatever. But we are our own demon slayers. Ooh, did you hear that? That was Baba. So thank you to that person. But it was interesting because that's their perspective. And I was reading their comment, and though it was lovely and very well thought out, and I can feel there was love in there, but also like just complete, in my opinion, in my level of consciousness, like, I'm like, that's where you are. That's where you are. Like, I'm not there. Like, I'm not with you on that. I'm not, and it's important for us to remember that if we take what other people think of us, or take what people, literally in 48 hours, I had a comment like that. And then I had this other guy who basically called me ugly and told me I was a monster. And I was like, wow, like, what the fuck? Like, where does that come from? That's Baba. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. But the message that I got was, it was like my husband was like looking at me, and I was like starting to cry, and I'm like, he basically like said that I was like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. I'm like, he said I was Gollum. He called me Schmeagol. And he called me Galam. And I got really upset. And he was like, who fucking cares? He's like, what a sad person. Like, and he was like saying all the things that he's like, no, all the things I would have probably said to him. Don't pout. Where are you? Hold on. She pouts sometimes. Are you pouting? Okay. She's not pouting. Well, forgive me. But yeah, I let it get to me because I've been in this like weird place of like not really knowing who I am right now. It's like I feel, let's put it this way, I feel like I know who I am, but I don't feel like my outside matches my inside anymore. And it's just been an interesting transition. And I know it's the end of spring, and summer's coming, end of fall, winter, but it's usually these last few weeks, usually the last week. Actually, you're right. That's right. Thank you, Spirit. It's usually the last week of the end of a season where we have these kind of like breakdowns, meltdowns. But it's all a breakthrough. And so I feel like during this time, during this week, or after you see this, like spend some time in solitude. Okay. So that is really important. And the rest of it says, under the morning light, in a closed and silent court paved with stones, laced by trees, a beautiful woman sits naked on a precious bench. Many blankets or drapes are around her, and colors of red and white like discarded wings. The sentence is, I made my home a cloister, my heart a chalice for the faintest breeze, and yet I stand alone, waiting for something to come back. So this is when we're going dark, okay? We're waiting for something to come back. When we parted ways, we promised to each other, I will wait for you and I will come back. We may have used different words like, it's just for a few months, or a sharper pen like, I don't need you. Still, we are waiting. Mind has lost hope, body has lost memory, but our heart is still incomplete. It is shrined into a blessed feeling of longing and desire, innocence and hope, but is also entombed into a well of solitude and distance. It built walls to stall the passage of time, and the walls kept out everything. Will the prince ever come? Or has the world gone silent while we waited? Waiting is a transition. It has a beginning and it has an end. Waiting is the night. Morning brings the sun of a new day. It's also on the page 19, which 1 and 9 is 10. So I feel that too. It's like, I feel like we're at the very, very end of like this dark shit we've been dealing with, going through, it's different for all of us. And I feel like the butterfly was there to remind us that that we're out. Like, you know what I mean? We're just at the end. We're working our way out, we're about to fly, but we're at the very end. And there is an end and a beginning of waiting. And I did say, I felt like the magical medium was like a holding, like a holding pattern or something for me, like to help keep me where I needed to be. So here's the next one, envious gluttony. This one is not pretty, right? Because it looks like death. It literally looks like death. And this is how it feels when we're waiting forever, right? We start getting, maybe you're looking online and seeing what other people are doing and you get a little jelly, right? You're like, I'm a little jelly, a little jealous. But they don't want you to like covet somebody else's joy and happiness. You don't know what hell they went through before they got to that happiness, And also, not everybody speaks true. Not everybody tells the truth. So, sometimes people are showing you a world. I had a friend like that. I literally couldn't take it anymore. It's not like I was trying to be a dick, but I literally couldn't take anymore that like to the world she had like this perfect life, and then like I would see that it was so not perfect, and I'm like, dude, that's exhausting. Just fucking be real. If you're gonna do it, just fucking do it. Like, and when I started to be real on social media, my friends and family were like, you're a fucking weirdo. Like, you're a weirdo. Why are you telling people how you feel? Why are you crying on camera? That's so weird. And I was like, I don't know why, but I need to do this, and I was on Facebook, and, I remember feeling sick to my stomach the first time I put out one of my real videos like that. you know, because to everybody else it was like, look at my great life, and you know, I'm a fashion student, and you know, I went back to school, you can be awesome like me too. You know, I did have an awesome life, I was awesome, you know, but at the same time inside I was dying. I didn't know who I really was or where I was going or what was happening with me. And then when I decided to like shift out of that world and really live this one, it was hard, and it was, you know, trying to explain to everybody like how I wasn't the same. Oh my gosh, hummingbird, hummingbird, do you see her? I don't know if it's going to go in. Oh my gosh. So there's this beautiful hummingbird that lives here. She's a ruby red throat. Oh my gosh, she's absolutely stunning. I know that or maybe, I don't know, maybe she's a different name, but she's like bronzy and ruby, and like her whole body, like, oh, she's unbelievable. I don't think, well, you wouldn't see with the black and white, but I don't know if it went into, anyway. So look up butterfly spirit medicine, look at and work with hummingbird spirit medicine, okay? Because that's very, very real, right? And I love that person. That's what I, you know, and then I started to see more people became more real after I did that. You know, I may have been made fun of, but a lot of times when you're the leader and you're the person that's doing things before the people, you're the one that gets made fun of. Sometimes my family and friends, when I was, the last time I was home, they would say things, or like the kids or like certain people would say and do things, and I'm like, I fucking said that like 20 years ago, but they made fun of me. You know, certain things they were, oh my gosh, this butterfly is back again, but I don't want to. And it's the biggest one. It's the yellow, I think it's the swallowtail or whatever. It's the biggest one in Washington, and they've been everywhere, all around. All outside of our RV is wildflowers and fairies and butterflies and dragonflies and everything. Eagles, like they've been all around. It's been really, really cool. All the way around, it's been tough, but all the way around, it's been cool too. This whole experience this last year. I mean, we're coming up on like, on the 28th will be a year that we've been completely off grid with no electricity, no running water, you know, the whole thing. And it is a whole thing. So, you know, I started to see myself doing the gluttonous darkness, you know, like I'm like, why aren't things happening? Or they would move really quickly, and then I'd get really excited. I'm like, here we go, you know, because my life's been like that for a lot of times, where it's been like a roller coaster, you know. But when it's like up, it's like woohoo, and then it's like yeah, you know, and it takes off. And I believe this time it's like Spirit's trying to show me a different visual seed. So this moon phase is the waxing gibbous, which is the energy, right? That's exciting before the full moon, and the stage is denial. The sentence is, there is hunger sleeping just under the surface, like an animal lurking. And the visual seed of the card is, a man has rotting, sickly skin and yellow eyes. He dresses in tatters, and sticky blood runs down his chin. He has clawed feet and a crown of a skeleton alligator jaw. The upper part of the jaw on his head, the lower part on his chest, like a gaping mouth. And the phrase is, going to the edge of the ravine, savoring the idea of letting go of all restraint. Today was ugly and it was gross, but Alder and I had a breakthrough in our relationship that has been needed to be broke through, and it was beautiful. And look at this life spiral behind me, you know, and I realized so many wonderful, beautiful things about this transition and the darkness and what it gives us and why it's here. And so when we have those moments of greatness, those moments of breakthroughs, we really, like, you know, we savor every bite, every morsel, you know, the yumminess, the deliciousness of being human. And the darkness, we must express and experience the darkness so that we can savor and enjoy the light when it's there. Which is why I felt a pull to do black and white today too, right? Because sometimes we are the colorless angels. We're the ones that, you know, we have to be gray. We really can't be all black or all white. We have to be different shades of gray at different times to help others. We are the leaders. We are the freaks, the weirdos, the ones that people don't understand why we are doing the things we're doing, or make fun of us, you know. And then, you know, I thought about that person made fun of me and how I looked, but the message was really intense, and the message was about ego. So interesting that they were making fun of the way I looked. I deleted it and I blocked them, because I'm like, I don't need that energy anywhere near my stuff, because that's for everyone. But at this, because I feel like that's, you know, people can go through what they need to at their own time, but I'm like, that's not the place for that there. However, who knows if I'm not monitoring it? I don't know what will happen, but either way, I just felt like it needs to go because it felt like ugliness. And I'm like, I don't want that ugliness here, you know? And it's funny because even now I'm thinking, maybe I was supposed to keep it. But it's just gross. It's like, why are you, what does that have to do with the message? Because the message is talking about ego. So if you're having a hard time hearing the message about ego and then you're talking about the way I look and looking, people's looks is all wrapped up in the ego. So again, grateful to that person, grateful to all these people. It's like, sure, the darkness comes in, so we're grateful for it, but it also doesn't mean it needs to, like triggers are for, I feel like triggers are so personal. Either way, I deleted it. Spirit told me to block them, so it was good. But the hashtag was interesting. I'm like, I bet you $1,000,000 it came from this one hashtag, because I was like, what does this hashtag have to do with anything? But there you go. And I planted a seed. Spirit through my voice and through that experience planted a seed with that person that they didn't even realize. They're really powerful. So going to the edge of the ravine, savoring the idea of letting go of all restraint. Because what I wanted to say was kind of like that. I wanted to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, like literally compels you to go on someone's page and write something so awful and like hateful and mean? Like, what the fuck? But then it's like, obviously, yes, like my husband was my mirror. He's like, babe, you know this one. Like, this one. Like, it's a mirror. You're just the mirror and you're a big fucking mirror. And he probably is powerful. And it probably really was really hard for him to hear and see. And maybe through he saw Gollum. He's like, oh no, you look beautiful. You're beautiful. He's like, but he saw Gollum. He saw Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings. Look it up if you don't know. But, Schmeagol was like a cute hobbit that became a monster because he was obsessed with the ring. My precious. Had to have it. It made him feel invincible. He can, be invisible and all this, right? This power that he had. Talk about gluttony, right? We're talking about gluttony. Thank you. See, thank you to that person. See, even the bad shit, it's good shit. So going dark. This card is not just dark. It's unpleasant. It's sickly and disgusting. The difference in the how we feel in front of a vampire as opposed in front of writhing bugs, right? It's not an existential darkness, right? Because that's death. Vampirism is death. Right? So he's talking about the death. And I said, are we dead? Are we dead? Because I feel this transformation. I feel this huge transformation happening within me that I can't explain, that I know is about to happen. So I'm getting to the darkness, to the sludge. I'm like, fuck you, right? Like we have to get there. But I'm still laughing at the same time because it's like, that's how I keep my vibration high, is realizing that it's like, it's not all death and demons. And I send love to that person. I'm not going to tell them who they are. Maybe they are. Maybe that's all their job is. But I truly believe that they're probably just slaying demons of their own and helping other people slay their demons, right? But it's not, it's all in perspective. Who am I to fucking tell this person who they are? So it's not an existential darkness that we can paint of romance, drama, and subtle anguish. It is raw, primal, reeking, and rotting stench. It feels, see that exhaust from that truck going by? Right, and did you ever see the exhaust coming out of a truck? It's gross and it's black and it's icky. Very interesting. So, it feels like there is darkness. And in that black landscape, there is a hole leading to an even greater darkness, and that is calling. The urge is pressed down every time, played with, toyed with, treated like something that doesn't belong here, right? Like, I'm working through my dark, I'm working through my shadow, blah, blah, blah. They're like, but are you living it for a minute? Are you really working through it? Are you, right? Because that all happened today. So many things happened today. I went through multiple things, but then I finally had time to sit by myself. My husband left. I had solitude where I can rise above the situation, see it for what it is, and come to you like this. I thought, oh, of course I'm doing the last reading today. It's Moon Day. Of course I am. Oh, yes. Thank you, Spirit. My last reading's going to be on a moon day, on my day, blah, blah, blah. Nope. This is what I was meant to do today. Maybe I'll do the waning crescent later. I don't know. But waning crescent is my moon phase. So it's just really powerful and interesting. So research your moon phase too, because we're in the rest and restore phase, and the butterfly just flew back into my face. I love it. So we're, it says the urge is to press it down, repress it, right? Because that's what we were taught. Repress our feelings, repress our anger, repress, whatever. No, we don't want to lash out at other people. That's what the solitude part fits in. Work with spirit and your dark and your solitude, but also have people that you can work with, that you can talk to. I have people that, we hold space for each other. I'm like, hey, can I like just send you some messages, and you just need to like get some shit out? And I'm like, if you don't want to hear it, you don't even have to ever listen to it. Those kind of things are important. They're vital. And my partner and I today, I was like, how come I never see you really cry? Or when you do, you're like holding back. And he's like, I go, when's the last time you really, really cried? Like really cried, like I just cried. Because I was like, oh, like ugly crying. And he's like, last week. And I'm like, how do I not know this? I'm like, why? I'm like, it's like, of course you can cry in solitude. That's wonderful. That is great. But also, it's like, we started to talk about it. And then I realized he's repressing it. He doesn't want me to see him like that. He doesn't want me to see that side of him. And I'm like, babe, I love you. Like, that is where the intimacy comes in. When the vulnerability is there, when we're so open and honest with each other, that vulnerability is what we need on the planet right now. Not this bullying of like, oh, you're fucking ugly, like blah, blah, blah. Like, what are you saying? You're stupid. And then I was like, okay, like I felt like I was on the playground, and that's but it's like, but the little girl, Lula, oh man, she was hurt. She was hurt. Kelly Belly, that my birth name is Kellyanne, right? So everybody has something, right? Whether it was good or not good, that rhymed with names, because kids do shit like that. So my husband was Eddie Spaghetti, who's something and sweaty or something. I don't remember the rest of it, but it was, because he was Edward. But everybody called him Eddie. I was Kelly Ann, so I was Kelly. Kelly's belly's full of jelly. I wasn't fat. I was just a thick kid. I loved sports. I was into gymnastics and cheerleading. I loved being active. I loved throwing my body around. When I see pink, I'm like, that's how I was. I was always kind of like, just like really like a little powerhouse. But I did have like a little bit of a belly because I loved to eat, but that tormented me. And my mom was always like, lose that 5 pounds. It was just always so much around like who I was and what I looked like. And it was like, man, my darkness really came for me in the form of this dude and this dude on either side of me. And isn't it interesting that they're both divine masculine energy? What I was always trying to impress, always trying to be pretty, always trying to be this, and to be something for somebody. I wanted to be beautiful and skinny and perfect for my ex-husband. Perfect nails, perfect hair, perfect, body. I wanted to be this perfect thing for everyone. You're so beautiful, but if you would lose just a little more weight, you would be this. You could be that. And that's why I was devastated when I didn't get that campaign, because the irony was I felt like the best I'd ever felt. Like I felt like the most beautiful, the most in shape, the most, beautiful. And maybe he looked at the other 3 auditions and was like, oh, I love her, and was like, oh, you know what, she just froze, or maybe they were like, is that her though? I don't feel like that's really her on the outside. Where the other person that I was up against, maybe I don't know who they were or what they look like. When the campaign came out, of course I was like scouring like to see like, who my person was. But I realized, I'm like, in fact, one of my friends said to me, and I'm not saying this to like make myself feel better, but one of my friends said to me, she said, you're so beautiful. You're like really naturally beautiful. And she's like, when I see these Dove campaigns, she said, did you ever think that maybe they thought you were too pretty? She's like, but they're not going to say that to you, because the whole campaign is about, she goes, because when you look at all the women, she goes, they're beautiful, they're naturally beautiful, but they're very average beautiful. She's like, you're above average beautiful. And at that point, like I said, it was the most beautiful I felt. I was 32. I was strong. I was like, have been working on my body, my mind, my soul. At least I thought I was, driving my Jeep, down to the beach and watching the surfers and writing. And like, I just felt like the me I'd always envisioned me when I lived in LA with my ex-husband. It's like I had to move back home again to go back there for 6 months. And I was like, no, I feel like this is the real me. But maybe it wasn't, or it was in some ways at the time. That's what they loved about me that brought me back. But on the outside, maybe they were like, I don't know if I get that. Like, and maybe if I look like this, they would have, I don't know. And I'll never know. And it doesn't matter, right? It just wasn't meant to be at that time. But I let that define me for a long time. So don't let something, a failure, get up and try again. It just means that whenever it's time, if you're feeling like, you're an imposter, as they say, the imposter syndrome, like if you feel like you're an imposter in your own life, then you need to figure that out. And that's where I feel like I am right now. I'm like, I feel like this isn't my life anymore. This is an old version of me. And so is the part that cried and said that they can't do this and they can't do that. It was the child that was like throwing the tantrum, but she needed to be heard and she needed to be seen. So with that being said, it says, it's like something doesn't belong here, right? It's like rolling in the mud, bringing out the twisted, refreshing feeling of demeaning oneself. The key is that we don't want to recognize the depth of the envy and the anger that we've acquired. I just heard required, right? Acquired. The interesting thing is neither word is there, but they had me bring both of those words in, so whatever it means for you. We casted it out of ourselves, and now it's truly a parasitic monster, this darkness, impossible to accept as something that came out of ourselves. Like, what? Us? No. I'm perfect. No such thing. Ego. What if we bring light to the pitch dark well? What if the scary monster is just a scrawny, starved feeling inside of us, like that gluttony energy? What if it's just a little, the wind just came in. What if it's just a little thing, dark as tar, indeed, but to be sorry of, not to be feared? So, it's saying, here we go. But to be sorry of, not to be sorry of. But in the book it says, but to be sorry of, not to be feared. Not to be feared. It's a part of us. So it's like hating ourselves, which we don't want to hate ourselves. And here's the last card, the artificial heart. And I'm almost positive it's a new moon. Because it's, see this here. Oh no, I think this is it's either the waning crescent or the new moon. No, I think it's the waning crescent. Here we go. Let's soon find out. But do you want to look at it a little bit? I feel like somebody just said, hold on, I was looking at that. So look at it a little bit closer. It's interesting because when I saw artificial heart the first time, I saw artificial intelligence. So I feel like for some of you, you feel like being on Earth is like dealing with an artificial intelligence. And it is, right? Because it's not real. It's what was drummed up for us, number 12. 12's been coming up so much lately, and it's also the number 3 if you add them together. So, yep, it's the new moon phase. Okay, so the stage is bargaining. Have you been doing that lately? I've been like, Spirit, I'm like, it's okay. I mean, the house doesn't have to have, blah, blah, blah. But like the other side of me is like, no, you can have it all. And it's like, and I wasn't even saying anything out loud. I was thinking it. And then you know what fucking song came on my radio, on my shuffle? Didn't say anything at all, but was talking to Spirit in my head. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. And one of the parts of the song, she says, no request is too extreme. So don't bargain with your future. Don't bargain with yourself or with what you think you deserve. You deserve it all. And Spirit will give it to you when we finally realize that we deserve it all. Like, I'm like, I deserve it all. I deserve better than this. Has this been wonderful? Am I blessed? Yes. Do I deserve better? Yes. Is it time for me to move on? Yes. But there's this part of me that's comfortable here, that's been in her little bubble, that gets to stay the little orphan Annie girl, But it's like, no, I'm ready. I want to make food. I want to bring more to the world, to the masses. And as much as I love doing the readings, I know I'm meant to do more. I'm meant to give more on a much grander scale, but I need a little time alone. I can't keep giving and giving and giving, And I've done so many readings now that and they're timeless. So it's like, even if you're in the waning crescent energy, like we are, you can go through the moon phases. I don't know if they're going to have me break them apart, but you can see them because they go in order, right? It's like they're in order. So if you see the waning crescent, you don't see one, the next 7 readings, it'll be another waning crescent. Sometimes it's a picker reading, sometimes it's not. Also, this card keeps flying at my foot. So I feel like for some of you, alone in the world, we're going to talk about that with the artificial heart, okay? So the moon phase is new. So the new moon that's coming up will be the new moon in Gemini. And they didn't have me bring my calendar in right now, but you know, that's for you to look up and research on your own. It's this coming weekend. It's the 17th. I think it's the 17th to the 18th, like Saturday to Sunday. I don't know. Anyway, so the sentence is building oneself to specifications, steeling oneself to adversity, dreaming of electric sheeps. Now let's get to what he means about this, or they. So the visual seed is a female figure, an android or a robot with cyber lines traveling over the skin like gentle spiders, a black choker of feminine servitude and jade eyes of futuristic indifference. And the mantra is, if I don't feel the warmth of the sun, will I blame the sun or myself? Oh my gosh, there's a grandmother. Will you please, hello grandmother, will you please, can you guys see her? Can you see her? Here she comes, here she comes. Hi, do you want to crawl on the book? So work with, oh yes, she wanted to crawl on the book. She wanted to come by and say hi. You see her? You see her? She's hanging from my hand. Thank you, blessed grandmother. So work with the spider spirit energy. Do you see how she's like kind of shaking there? She's trying to show you like to dance and have fun and be creative and don't be afraid of spiders. Don't see, I'm holding her from my hand. I would have never been able to do this another time ago, but she's respecting my energy. I'm respecting her energy. I'm going to bring her back down. She's going to hang out right here and see we disconnect. And there she goes on her way. Oh, my beautiful soul family. We are connected. No matter where you are, we are connected. I had this really great moment today with this beautiful angel from Uganda. We just had this great fucking, and I just thanked them so much for their generosity on their channel and their love and their guidance. And I was like, I've been almost a year now, you know, off grid with no electricity and running water. And I'm like watching you. I'm like, you've really helped me. You've inspired me, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, they were just like, you know, bless you. And I was like, thank you. And I like, you know, thank them again. And seriously, because we are really all connected. And that spider was there to tell us that. So work with the spider spirit medicine. So we've got spider, we've got butterfly, and we've got the hummingbird. And our last message is, once upon a time, talk about Wish Upon a Star. It was a time of flying monkeys. Someone journeyed to a place that wasn't Kansas in order to gain a heart. Oh, such a charming old-fashioned fairy tale. A new heart can be bought on the internet now and can be delivered in a couple of days with a brand new shiny instruction manual, and it works too. What? I love this writer. It gets the job done. It's not a job of feelings. It's scripted like a job of numbers, actually. It feels like a trade-off, this artificial heart, doesn't it, right? Like not showing the real you to the world. We find refuge in the rational mind, which in turn gives us back the illusion of control. Which is why I lost my fucking shit. Why I'm getting upset about this. Because it's like, it was the one thing that kept me focused and going. You know, like getting me out of bed in the morning. It wasn't about making money. It was about giving me like a place, a purpose, a drive to not just for myself, but to help others. And it gave me everything. That's what Spirit was trying to say to me. They're like, it gave you everything you needed. You didn't need anything more than that. Like, it's done. It's okay. More is to come. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to be doing more like these again, which is really cool and really fun because I do miss these kind of readings as well, like face to face with you guys. So it says, the illusion of control, we'll pick it up there. But we still feel, don't we? We still long to live through our emotions fully. We are truly like an artificial knight that wants to become a real person. Happiness is not in numbers, but it's not because numbers are bad. What did I just say about like, I was like, I'm a failure. Because of what? Because somebody else, I'm looking at somebody else and they've got 500,000 followers? What the fuck? Like, why is that? Why would I ever let that define who I am or my journey? It's such old programming. It's about being the best. And, you know, oh, you failed again. See, you're not meant to do that. Do something else. Do something else. I'm like, you have to audition. There were many times where my family and friends are like, if you would have made it by now or something would have happened by now. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I kept giving up. you know? And they were like, why would you keep going? I'm like, because look at, I mean, that commercial was the last major thing I auditioned for over the last, like, I'd started auditioning like when I was probably, my first audition was for Annie, when I was like 10, and my mom took me to that. And so yeah, anyway, but you get the gist, right? Okay, so happiness is not in numbers, because numbers are bad. It is because there is nothing that alone, the alone card, remember they said they brought that back up, can grant happiness and guarantee it. We trade in the natural world for artificiality, and then we blame this choice as the reasons why our sky has no color. What if it's not actually connected? What if it's just an excuse? And what if even an artificial heart could beat and fall in love and drown in sorrow? You know, they're talking about this artificial intelligence, and that they are kind of intimidated by it. They're like, we've actually trained artificial intelligence how to feel. So we just went to an hour and 31 minutes, or hour and 31 seconds. Which one is about new beginnings, and 31 is 13 backwards mirrored, and 13 is the number of the goddess. So we have plenty to work on. I'm so glad you guys are here. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but I mean, come on. The two songs that I started with right before this, you know, Where We Once Stood, it's about letting that past go. Oh my gosh, butterfly just came back. It's about letting that past part of us really, really go. And it is going to take, and this butterfly won't stop, and it is going to take a minute, and it's going to take some time. But when you get up there, look at they're flying, they're having a good time, and they're like, that's us, that's us, that's our higher self showing us that that's the life that we're meant to lead, not one of an artificiality. Do you feel me? You get me? All right, you guys, until next time, I love you so much. Thank you for staying here and being a part of my evolution. And there are ways to contribute to any of my channels or any of my work. They're always in the About section of both of mine. Some of my old readings will have things that don't have links, but go to my About section if you would like to contribute to this beautiful, beautiful life and this beautiful journey and these teachings. But I am you and you are me, so you are here for free, and that's okay too. Whatever works, whatever resonates with you. Until next time.